In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Someone take off the bench. There we go, guys. I love weddings. I absolutely love weddings. And if you've ever been to a wedding of mine, you can just see on my face how much I love it. I love weddings because two people who are in love come together. Two people who just really love and want to express that love with so many people. I love weddings because, well, friends and family come together to share in that love. I also love it because whether they like each other or not, even two families come together. And the best part of all is we're asking God to come to us face to face and surround these two and to hug them and to bind them into one. I love weddings, and I've done a lot of them. I've done where, the 20-year-old, right before I left Texas to go to Greenville, the night before, I did a wedding for two that were in their upper 70s. It was a great wedding. And people had a great laugh when I got to the liturgy that said, and if God's willing, they'll have children. Everybody laughed. She turned red. And I said, well, remember Abraham and Sarah? And she said, oh, no, we're not. It was a beautiful wedding, and it was a lot of fun. Weddings are a lot of fun, and they're a great joy in my life. But one thing about a wedding, you have to prepare. You really have to prepare pretty much every detail of a wedding. It's not that everything will always go right, and that's okay. But what you try to prevent is things really going wrong. And so you try to prepare every detail you possibly can. One of the ways that I prepare newlyweds and for the wedding is obviously in counseling, where I counsel the 20-year-olds who don't have any questions because they have all the answers. And it's funny, the older group, they have a lot of questions that we try to answer. But we try to prepare them in such a way, and then comes the wedding rehearsal. The wedding rehearsal is vital. That's where you're going to tell everybody where they're going to stand, where they're going to walk, where they're going to sit, how they're going to act. Every detail is planned. And I remember telling, or each time I do it, I tell people, listen very carefully. And if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. One of the things that I started to do a few years ago was I began to teach about the wedding itself. Why we do what we do. And all of a sudden the ears perked up. Why does a bride walk down the aisle? Why do the groomsmen stand the way they do? What is the purpose of the bridesmaids? Why in one part of the wedding do we stand in one spot, but then in the middle of the wedding we take some steps forward? Why do I take the stole and tie around the hand and say a blessing? Where do these things come from, and why do we do it, and what is the whole story? And I always love when people at the rehearsal will tell me later, I will never look at a wedding again the same. Thank you. I didn't know all about that. And yes, you'll have to come to a wedding to find out. But what I'm trying to do is get them to understand they're part of the story. And when they understand this this story of a wedding, and where it comes from, suddenly it really becomes real, even the night before. Suddenly they know and they take honor in where they stand, the way they walk and how fast they walk. Suddenly they are part of a story, and it all makes sense. The second part that I do at a wedding rehearsal is I give the warning. I give the warning, and what I mean is I think I'm pretty laid back, but there are times that I want to make sure people understand that to prepare, you need to be serious. So I have some rules. My number one rule is don't be late. Matter of fact, I tell them I want you there 2 hours early. Why? Because if there's an accident on the road, or you get a flat tire, or there's a one-day Macy's sale, or there's a goat in the street, I want you to be here on time because I don't need a bride and a groom scared or worried. I don't need family worried. The second thing I tell people is do not come intoxicated. Do not come intoxicated. The last thing I need is a groomsman or one of the ladies who's going a little back and forth and swaying and acting goofy, because I don't want all of the attention taken off of the bride and groom and now set on them. My third is don't come in sick from the night before. I don't need hangovers. The last thing I need is someone standing up here all pale and sweaty and swaying back and forth and suddenly throw up on the bride or groom. Chewing gum is one, and practical jokes. Where do I get this from? Because in seminary and with other priests, we've talked about it. Believe it or not, those scenarios I gave you have all happened. They've all happened, and so you try to prevent every detail and making it a wonderful day. And why shouldn't it be a wonderful day? You've got a bride who is standing before you that has been thinking about this day since they were that little. The little girl who watches Cinderella and dresses up, and suddenly she marries her teddy bear or she marries her daddy. She plays this role for years, writing her name with her boyfriend's last name just to see what it looks like. They've been planning this day for years. And don't worry, we guys don't talk about it a lot, but don't think it's not important to us also. Who is she going to be? Will she support me? Will she love me? Will she care for me? It's a day that two people come, and then most important of all, we're asking God for Him Himself to come and surround these two people for as long as God wants them together. Preparing. Preparing is very important. And I think this is why Jesus uses a wedding to make to give an example of what He's trying to tell His disciples. In this morning's gospel, this time He's not talking to the crowd. He's not talking to the townsfolk. He's talking with the disciples, the people who are with Him all the time. Those who are going to go out into the world. And that's why Jesus is talking to them. Because He knows He's going to send them out in the world and they're going to have ministry to do. And He wants them to be prepared. He wants them prepared in the morning, in the evening, at night, or in the afternoon. They need to be prepared for the opportunities that Jesus gives them. In other words, when God comes face to face and says, here you go. Here's your ministry for the day. He wants to make sure they understand this. And that if they are truly prepared at all times, they'll be ready to go. So He tells them the story, the kingdom of heaven is like. I love when He starts that. You know He's going to tell a good parable. But He talks about 10 bridesmaids, one that are wise and one that are not. And so these bridesmaids, their whole job is to be able to light up with their lamps the pathway for the bridegroom when he comes. And then go in, what they'll do is they'll light up the banquet hall. And everything will be ready for the wedding. You see, in Jesus' time, it's very important that all details are prepared for. You think we have big weddings today. In Jesus' time, a lot of them lasted a week. So there's a lot of preparing to do. Who's going to feed these people? Where are they going to sleep? Where are they going to change clothes? Where are they going to dance? Who's going to play for them? Who's going to have the wood for the fires? There's lots and lots of details that have to be made. So everyone has a job. And I will tell you, even in Jesus' time, the disciples would have understood this. That even in this story, because they've seen bridesmaids before, they would have been given all of their instructions. They would make sure that are they prepared. In other words, before this happens, they would have gone to the bridesmaid and said, do you have your oil? Yes. Do you have your lamp? Yes. Do you have your wick? Yes. Are you ready and are you prepared? We are. But we see in the story that when the bridegroom is coming and someone finally, they all fall asleep because they're waiting for him and he gets there around midnight, which by the way is not unusual in Jesus' time because you didn't have GPS and you have animals. And so actually they could come at any time. And that was the whole point. All of them have experienced the bridegroom getting there at 4 in the morning. You just don't know. And so he's using this example, and so finally somebody screams, "Here he comes! Here he comes to come through the doors. Light your lamps, ladies. Come on." And so they get up and they rub the sleep out of their eyes and they begin to get their lamps going. But 5 of their lamps won't work because they don't have enough oil. And so the other ones say, and I don't know if you caught the joke in it, "Go to the marketplace and buy some more. It's midnight." The funnier part, that's why I think Jesus had some humor. It may have been dry. But they actually go. Did you notice that? They go to buy this oil. And so they're gone. And so 5 of them, it's 5 of them who can light it up. In other words, they're ready for that opportunity. And they light up and they guide the bridegroom in and his entire caravan of people. And there they close the doors and the ladies put their lamps up. And finally the banquet hall, the party begins. But unfortunately, for 5 of them, they were not prepared. In other words, they missed the opportunity. And it was over. There was nothing they could do. And it's the same way when I talk to at my wedding rehearsal. And I tell the people there that if you break one of these rules, unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to leave the wedding party. Why? Because symbolically, they can knock at the door. But I don't know who they are. Because the person I knew was the person who agreed to do it right. The person I know was responsible. The person I know said they were ready. And Jesus is using these ladies in the same way. Again, he's trying to make sure that his disciples are ready for Jesus at any time. And they're ready to see him face to face and take the opportunity that he gives to them. So my question today, are we prepared? And I mean, are we really prepared? And I'm not talking about for the last day when we see Jesus. I hope all of us are prepared for that. But are we prepared to meet Jesus when the opportunity arises? Are we ready as individuals and as Holy Trinity to meet Jesus when he walks through those doors and says, "Here is an opportunity for you. Here's what I need you to do." Today is Stewardship Sunday. Stewardship Sunday. And Stewardship Sunday should be about celebration. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Like a wedding party, it's a celebration. You see, stewardship is not just about money. Stewardship is about being prepared. Stewardship is about making sure that each of us as individuals are prepared for the ministries that God has for us. Stewardship is about us being prepared as Jesus walks through those doors saying, "We're ready. Bring it on." I try to be prepared all the time. Doesn't mean I always am, but I certainly try. Because, you know, I don't know when God is coming to me face to face. There have been times that I've been at a gas station or at a restaurant and someone comes up to me and says, "Can we talk? I need help." I'm seeing God face to face. I've had people come into the office going, "Father, I really need to talk to you about something." To me, I'm seeing God face to face. When I baptize a child or an adult, I see God face to face. When I hold someone's hand in the hospital as they are ill or they're dying, I'm seeing God face to face. And it's the same with Holy Trinity. When I see ladies knitting away and making prayer shawls and prayer blankets, I see Christ face to face. When I see people that are using their spiritual gifts to God, I see God face to face. When we feed people in our community, those people that are coming and asking us for help, I'm seeing God face to face. And we need to be prepared for those things that God has for us. So I'm asking you today, will you help me prepare? We have lots of ministries right now at Holy Trinity, but the opportunities that God is going to give us is only going to increase. Will you help me prepare each one of us? Will you help me prepare this church? Will you help join your priest, your church, and your congregation in preparing? To prepare each day for the opportunities that God has for us. Will you prepare this church so that we can see Jesus face to face when He walks through that door and says, I need you. Let's all go together today and celebrate like it's a wedding party. Amen.